Good morning. It's very nice to see one of your shorts on the list gapping down significantly. And I think we actually, a couple of the others, I think HPE was also downgraded. My dad paid Greg to get into this school. Okay, good investment. Okay, guys. So markets are up here a bit. And the question is this, well, this move off of this low here was anticipated based on the internals and just the fact that it's the first break of trend, since the holiday where it started. So now, do we have a larger top coming in place? Or does this actually able to hold on to this gain into the end of the week, which is the question at this moment? Meaning, so here was this big red bar. And historically, this kind of a pattern that would be, let's just say, more convincing that it's going to go down would have a narrow range week. So this is a weekly chart here. So whether it's a weekly chart or it was a 15-minute chart, it doesn't matter. We look at patterns in the same way throughout all time frames. It's how we combine those time frames that puts the odds in our favor, because obviously this can happen in a smaller time frame and fail miserably. So the question is this going to fail? Because even this being a weekly chart and coming up as far as it did into an area of resistance, it's and the size of this red weekly bar to the downside after the slowing momentum candle would have either resulted in a narrow range weekly bar, or it just would have moved down. So now at the moment, we've got a retracement, and I'm eyeballing this of, let's just say, 90% into that red bar, which is obviously strength for the buyers and potentially negating this weekly reversal bar. Now, today is Wednesday morning. We'll see where this is going to be at the end of the day. And of course, Friday by 4 o'clock, can it hold on to this gains? And if it does, well, that certainly has to be respected as the potential for something to continue to move up toward new all-time highs. Or Fridays, this turn into a topping tail, which would then say we need to put on more short positions. So we're tentative with that, but the shorts or bearish positions that we put on yesterday are working out nicely. So as we always do, we see step by step as to what's going on, and looking at the daily chart, does this extend itself higher, or does it turn into a red bar by the end of the day? And then even if it's a red bar, which means it closed below its open, where does it close? So with Roku yesterday, we were looking and hoping for that to break down below its opening price, and then can it break below the low of the day? And not only did it go below the low of the day, it went below the prior day's low, and that all started with potentially what was a breakout bar failure, and now we've got it gapping lower. So Dan will review that. But now we've got this topping pattern here, kind of mild in that it came up here, and it's minor little topping tail. But then the green bar said it was going to go up, and it gapped higher, and that gap turned into a selling event that it didn't close below the low, but it closed below the open, and then down it went for a few days, bottoming tail bar, wide range bar up. And now, does this become a shakeout? Is this market so insanely bullish off of this low that this is going to be a shakeout? And by shakeout definition, it would have to, what we'd want to see is it go sideways here, which could go sideways into the end of the week, which would mean this holds on to this gain here, and we have to then interpret that as it's going higher next week. It's a shakeout, by definition, a fake out move. Now, fake out in 2020 hindsight, of course. So the selling that started here broke this level of support. Now it's coming up significantly into resistance versus maybe hitting the 20 here and rolling back over. So at the moment, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. And it's early in the day. And where does this end up? Does it hold on to the gain? Is it down here by the end of the day? Which then would, okay, and then we've got a lower high pointing toward prices coming down to this level. So, we've got various news items there, Brexit uncertainty, slowing economy, Aussie currency lower, and some downgrades, one of them being our Hewlett-Packard short. So, it was always the China thing that can reemerge its head and so on. So that all aside, the news, what is the chart saying? Well, this is what we're looking for. Can it hold on to its gain? Does this turn lower today? And where do we end up at the end of the day? Because so far, we've got what I called a crack in the wall, but the wall isn't falling down as of yet. We'll see how this unfolds. NASDAQ futures actually pushed up above the high and totally negated the red bar, which wasn't as potent as the S&P red bar. That's what I mean by that. Wasn't as big and down near the close as the NQ bar was. So now this is totally negated that red bar, suggesting prices are going up. Now, today's the day. Momentum slowed yesterday. So the gain came here. The range narrowed. The range narrowed further yesterday. Well, that's actually today because we're looking at the futures. Can it hold on to this? And the same story. Does this bar grow or does it become a red bar at the end of the day where this was just a breakout failure and then lower? So wait and see. Looking for information here, a little bit more information. I mean, as far as this chart goes, it's in an uptrend. This was a little fake out move to the downside. It made new highs. It's got what we call a void of resistance above. It's an area, but it's able to clear this. You've got a red bar ignored. Internals aside, which gave us that warning shot, that heads up, where sentiment reached an extreme. It's backed off a little bit. So, and breadth got all the way down to a bullish level. But these option traders yesterday were buying a lot of calls. It didn't close. It didn't close at a bearish level. It backed off by the end of the day. But, historically, these wrong way option traders, as we call them, are on the wrong side. And, one of the things that I'll mention just as technical traders and investors that we have to watch for ourselves is that and I'm speaking from my own point of view now with these internals, is that I've used them for decades and they're so reliable. And at this point, things haven't rolled over in any meaningful way. I have seen that before, but when you see something working, whether it's a market internal or whether it's some kind of reversal pattern that has worked so well for you in the past, you have to stay objective about what's happening in the moment, because it's real easy to get caught up in the past of what worked out well. And when it doesn't, if you're not disciplined and your money management isn't adhered to, you can get yourself into a real painful situation. And let's continue. YM, the laggard, Boeing problems, of course, putting a drag on it, but we'll take a look at the Dow stocks throughout the day and see what else is there. Probably not just Boeing that's keeping it down here, but that's certainly a concern where the NASDAQ is pushing up above these highs. These S&Ps haven't, and the Dow is way down here. So can the NASDAQ keep going with this market not participating? Sure. Be unusual, but the FANG stocks are doing well. And so we'll see how this continues. Bonds broke down. They came back. Big reversal day here, which looks like, and this is the beginnings of a shakeout. So break to the downside looked pretty bad, and it immediately recovered, and it's going sideways. That's a shakeout pattern. Now, this continues to go sideways. Obviously, it suggests it's going to go up. And if it's going to go up, that means interest rates are going to come down, which puts these yield curves into play as to, are they going to invert? So this is the shortest, the 3-month versus the 5-year, just sideways there, right on inversion, and the others are getting closer. They're not there yet, but if this breaks out to the upside, these are going to invert, and you're going to have to be aware of that, because it was talked about back here where it was getting close. That's what got the markets to drop. That was part of what got the markets to drop. Back at the end of last year, where we got this correction, whether, there's a lot of talk about inverted yield curve, and those that were talking about it here, and now the market's here, maybe they're not going to be so anxious to, blow that horn this time around. So we'll keep an eye on it and see if it does. And it's always historically been a problem for the market, and the big corrections come. So we'll see. You got to keep an eye on the bonds and the yields to see what's happening there. Gold working its way up there. Can we make money either way? Yes, we can, Robert. But and this is, back to what I'm saying about keeping yourself in check about your past experiences as to what's working. So for the last 9, almost 10 years, it's been the long side primarily to make money. There have been choppy points in time, but when that yield curve inverts, the corrections that come are significant. So if you're not aware of it, you may continue to buy the dips, getting beat up, whereas historically we know if that inverts and then the market starts to break lower, we can make a whole lot more money shorting rallies and continuation patterns lower than buying dips and maybe getting scalps out of it. It was the same as it was going up, of course. Shorting at momentary points of weakness when the trend is up, you can make money, but not as much as if you stay on the long side. So that's why we keep track of it. And again, the corrections, if you go back and look at what happened after 2000 into 2001 and what happened in 2007 or 8 when it inverted, right? It's not your 5 or 10% correction. It's huge. So that's why we want to know when that possibility is at hand. So gold continues to move up. It's coming up into some resistance here. We'll see how it handles it. But this was a nice little bottoming pattern for a counter trend move. That being said, counter trend on the daily, uptrend on the weekly. This is a higher probability setup to buy on a break of a daily trend when the weekly is up versus if the weekly was a broken uptrend and this was breaking down further. So the combination of multiple time frames is a very powerful concept to know how to put that together. And oil, right? That there was a shakeout there, and it would be more obvious as to how I showed it to you on the other charts, where this is being a bottoming tail, but on a smaller time frame, it's the same thing where it dipped all the way down and then it came all the way back up, and it'd be more sideways. This would be a sideways day on an intraday time frame. But so there was the break there, and now it's moving up above the highs, suggesting could go significantly higher. To think it's coming up here would probably be premature, but the action is bullish. And just look at, this is how we look at the action through the eyes of what I call bar by bar analysis, right? A strong momentum up that creates a void. A red bar says it's going lower, right? Simple. Technical analysis, candlestick analysis 101. I don't need to know about bearish engulfing or Haramides or whatever. red bar ignored, 180 reversal back up. That's bullish price action. And now as it pops up and stalls, it goes sideways. So it's building or creating support, suggesting it can go significantly higher. Now, the other side of that, we can't just arbitrarily say, well, it's got to go up here because there's no resistance. And yeah, there's those that are going to look at these fib levels, which are hocus pocus stuff, in my opinion. And maybe there's a moving average or a trader pivot line or who knows what. Right? What we look for is, all right, it can come up here. There's a void. But if it forms a pivot, it creates resistance. And then if it forms an M top, that forms a stronger area of resistance, or it could form, right, what we call a head and shoulders top. I know I'm drawing on top of drawing here, but just giving you the view of how we look at price patterns versus subjective information to tell us that distribution is going on or accumulation is going on. So price patterns is the way to go, not indicators, not fib lines, not trend lines, not channels, so on and so forth. Read where people are putting their money, right? Not connecting dots on a chart.
Or listening to analysts in the news.
Exactly. And if we ever get on the news, Dan, I guess everybody should stop listening to us.
Hey, we have MT Live, but that's education.
I guess. So anyway, guys, that's where the markets are at here. Let me hand it over to Dan to cover open positions and the gaps.
All right. Good morning, everyone. But that, that's an excellent point of why technical analysis works. And, we say it is what it is. It's objective. People lie, charts don't lie, because it's the sum collective results of all market participants, period, regardless of why they're participating. Opens here. Echo Alpha, that looks great to add as a swing trade over the high. We have put spreads in both letters. And actually in the weekly options trader video last night that I did, I just love saying, and I highlighted it in the video, that this Echo Alpha actually slightly went against us because we entered it on this little breakout on Monday. So it's slightly against us, but we're still 50% to max profit. Same with Netflix. On this gap breakdown, we shorted a 370, 380 out of the money call spread. It rallied 3 days against us, and we're more than 50% of max profit again. And that's the beauty of selling credit spreads. AWK, we're long stock. We sold a third into strength yesterday. I really can't tell where it's gapping. I saw a print way up here at 106. If it does open at 106, we might sell another third. Hey, Ladon. LYV, we just sold a third yesterday. 63, 20 area, I think. Looks great. CCI, we're long stock. Looks great. DTE, we're long stock. That looks higher. It just looks great. Triple V, we're short stock. Had a beautiful. Remember, I said yesterday morning under these lows you can add, and I said hopefully it will pick up acceleration to the downside because of all these bulls getting tired of waiting, and it looks like that's exactly what happened. Lulu, we have a call spread for next week. HCSG, we're short stock, same. I said you could add under today's low. Today you can add under yesterday's low. There. Looks great. Bearish 1, 2, 3, 4, topping tails. Looks great. UGA, we're trying to sell a put spread, but we never got our desired limit. NVIDIA, I'm just watching here for a weekly, multi-month bottom on the weekly. Roku, I think Greg has got you all short stock. If you held it overnight, you could have, because it closed at the dead low, negating Monday's breakout bar. I also issued a call spread, and again, we're greater than 50% of max profit in one day. I said bid a nickel to get out, and we should get that nickel or even better. 5-minute high, you know, the spreads are going to be big at the open, but you can just put a limit in, try to close it at, you know, 3 cents. You either get filled or you don't, and then we can adjust it higher. Just some others here on my carryover list. TCBI, relative weakness under last week's low. I like that as a short. SFM under yesterday's low, we can short it. Ozark under the week's low, I like it. These are all great little swing patterns, relative weakness to the market. TVTY, that was one, you know, we missed, but that's a bearish. It's bearish. Dollar General, I have an alarm at 120 for a breakout. CMA, a short. This looks great. Under, you know, I don't know how big the target is, you know, but gap fill. This looks great. Let's short those lows. These are all valid trades. Mealy, we issued a naked short put yesterday for April. That looks good. Boeing, you know, these things, these Fortune 100 stocks that get whacked, I always like just keeping an eye on them. So it was down a couple bucks in the morning. Now, as you can see, it's rallied through this 15-minute resistance. Still not a compelling pattern at all, but we'll keep an eye on it for a day trade or put spread. Robert took profits on ATUS, made short it again. Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah, short the low. I like it. Now see how quick, see that's where you need to get to. Where it took my brain an 1/8 of a second. So yeah, look, I can see daily, weekly, 15-minute chart closed at the low, relative weakness. Definitely. So short under the low. I see it gapping up here 21 cents or so. A couple more gappers. This is pharmaceutical, but this is a bullish consolidation in the upper third of this wide range bar, gapping to 48 bucks. This is a 30-minute high candidate. Looks great. VRA, gap's excessive. We missed our entry, but wow. Do you all see where the no-brainer entry was on the daily? It is just so crystal clear right here. Look at that. A little buy setup, 50% into this wide range bar. Wow, that was pretty. But nothing to do now. TEUM. That's nothing to do. Excessive gap. There's our Roku, PDD. 2719. That's a bearish gap. That's bearish. I'm going to put that in my window. Here's ACB. ACB here, pot stock, has a gap breakout here, 870, and it has room on the weekly. These things are very volatile, as we all know. So I'm not going to rush into it, but that's a 30-minute high candidate. I still had Garmin here on my list. A trader brought to our attention yesterday. And I liked it. Look at that. It was a little whippy in the morning, but it's an uptrend, right? Look at that 15-minute. Higher highs, higher lows, above the 20. This was a carrier. Oh, this was also on traders list. I said let it go sideways more because the weekly's extended. Facebook was relative weakness. All right, 928. I'm pretty much done here. Yum. Spiders 280, 42. All right, so it's still, you know, not breaking out like the Qs did, but it's a deep retracement on the weekly, as Greg talked about. FND, I had this one on my bullish list and I never triggered it. But we found this scanning last Friday, because I like that bar. Nice engulfing after this consolidation. Costco's been a beast. We never chased it. Some other marijuana stocks looks like they're going up in sympathy. I like this CGC too. Let's watch this as a put spread. It has nice support down here. Tilray, I'm not messing with. He's been the dog. Tesla, no pattern. Google's been a beast. We had a put spread here, but we never got our desired credit, unfortunately. Look at this 15-minute. You know, when you ask, hey, is this chasing right now? It is chasing on the daily, but it's not on the 15. Look at that. That is a bullish. Yesterday, you know, had the morning run pretty much, and then upper part of the day's range resting. That's a day trade candidate. Amazon, that's a mess. Netflix, we got our call spread. So it gapping down in an up market is good, right? PYX is a pop, is it? All right, let me look it up. I'll add it here in my minders. I made a big list of pot stocks when we went through them together. All right, Roku, we have a 75.79. Let's see how crazy the spreads are now. Well, 6x8, they're actually tight. There's our 5 cents. So go ahead and just take it, close it at 5 cents. Nice job. Well, the midpoint